Welcome back to Project 82, the SCP Remote Access Database. Which case file do you require?
Item number SCP-339. Object Class Keter. SCP-339 is contained at Site 49. The room containing SCP-339 is 5 meters by 5 meters by 5 meters and soundproofed. SCP-339 is sealed in a soundproofed container on a 1.5 meter pedestal in the center of the room. The room is only accessible through an outer soundproofed airlock. All personnel entering SCP-339's holding room for maintenance must maintain absolute silence and wear noise-reducing foam-lined boots available in the airlock. Regular maintenance of SCP-339 is to occur on the 15th of every month and consists of replacing the degraded soundproofed container with a new one. No one is to enter SCP-339's holding room for any reason other than maintenance. SCP-339 is a group of tendrils extending off a central mass. It is approximately 50 centimeters from tip to tip, although this is variable. It appears to be made out of weathered copper, but shows a much higher level of durability and independent mobility. The individual tendrils constantly move as though underwater, continually grinding on the sides of any containment, silently pulverizing it at a gradual but consistent rate. Because of this, the soundproofed box it is currently contained in must be replaced at regular intervals. Any noise above 14 decibels will cause SCP-339 to become hostile. During this noise, and for a length of time equal to 5 times the duration of the noise, any movement within visual range will result in the immediate reaction of SCP-339. SCP-339 will expand by extruding tendrils at an extremely high rate, ensnaring any moving organisms or objects designated targets. Once the movement has been restricted, SCP-339's tendrils begin to vibrate at rapidly increasing oscillations until the target is rendered incapable of movement. Note that once a target is ensnared, SCP-339 appears to be able to determine when the target truly becomes incapable of movement rather than merely when it stops moving. SCP-339 will then return to its base shape and size. At this point, secretions of blood and a slurry of bone and muscle tissue from the central mass are to be expected. All movements of SCP-339 are completely silent, even at very high oscillations that should produce noise. SCP-339 was recovered in Iran in 1953 during Operation Ajax on the part of the Iranian military. It was found in one of Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh's private collections. After the deaths of the Iranian soldiers sent to secure this collection, the Foundation was alerted and took control. SCP-339 was found in a velvet-draped room on a pedestal. A quote from the Persian poet Saadi was engraved on the pedestal in Persian. "Nothing is so good for an ignorant man as silence, and if he was sensible of this, he would not be ignorant."
Case file ends. Which case file do you require?
Item number SCP-345. Object Class Safe. SCP-345 is to be kept inside a secure vault at Site. Seeing as the object is inert by itself, no further containment is necessary. Personnel seeking to solve SCP-345 need the permission of 1 Level 2 personnel. SCP-345-1 is to be kept inside a 5 meter by 5 meter by 5 meter sealed room on Site. Following Incident 345-1, personnel are only allowed to solve 1 of the 6 phases of SCP-345. Trying to solve all phases will result in reassignment to MTF-8, the Midwives. SCP-345 is a stone cube whose faces are each divided into 9 squares of equal size, and sections of which can be rotated in a fashion similar to a common puzzle toy. Each face of the cube measures 5.7 centimeters. Instead of the normal 6 colors commonly found in this kind of puzzle, the squares represent 6 different materials: an intrusive magmatic rock resembling granite, an intrusive magmatic rock resembling gabbro, an extrusive magmatic rock resembling basalt, a sedimentary rock resembling sandstone, volcanic glass resembling obsidian, and a high-grade metamorphic rock resembling granite gneiss. SCP-345 can be opened by forcibly pulling its sides apart. The cube is hollow, possessing a circular cavity 4.5 cm in diameter in its center. If left open for 5 seconds, SCP-345 will automatically close and shuffle itself for 2 minutes. Afterwards, it may be safely handled. Note that it will not be possible to force SCP-345 open after the shuffling takes place. Solving SCP-345 is no harder than solving the common versions of the puzzle. However, if one of the faces becomes complete, one of the following situations may occur. If the completed face represents one of the magmatic rocks, SCP-345 will heat up to approximately either 1500 degrees Celsius, gabbro phase, 1200 degrees Celsius, basalt phase, or 900 degrees Celsius, granite phase. The amount of time SCP-345 takes to cool down also greatly varies, with the basalt phase being the fastest, up to 50 minutes, and the gabbro phase being the slowest, up to 250 days. If the completed face represents the sedimentary rock, the cube will start shaking violently for up to 10 hours. The sound of either water running or wind howling can be heard coming from inside SCP-345 during the whole process. If the completed face represents volcanic glass, SCP-345 will heat up to approximately 900 degrees Celsius and will take up to 5 minutes to cool down. If the completed face represents the metamorphic rock, SCP-345 will suffer the same process that would happen if the granite face was completed. After cooling down, the cube will proceed to shuffle itself at high speeds, making loud grinding sounds while it does so for up to 50 hours. After one of the processes is over, SCP-345 can be opened again, and a sculpture made of the same material that was represented by the completed face can be found inside of it. The small sculpture will always be of a planet or planetoid 4.5 cm in diameter. These sculptures do not resemble any currently known planet. If more than one face is completed at the same time, both corresponding processes will occur, one followed by the other. The statue created will be made of both materials. For instance, the sculpture created by completing the granite and obsidian faces at the same time had its continents made of granite and oceans made of obsidian. SCP-345 was recovered by Agent on 2000 days after the eruption of the volcano in Ecuador. Claims to have found it near the base of the volcano and took it as a curiosity. He learned about the true nature of the SCP after trying to solve it, suffering third-degree burns in the process. Incident 345-1 On 2000, while Dr. tested SCP-345, she managed to complete all faces by not opening the cube once a face was completed. SCP-345 proceeded to rumble for 3 minutes, after which it opened by itself. A small metal sphere, 4.5 cm in diameter, emerged from inside SCP-345 and hovered 3 meters from the ground. Shortly after, the sphere began rotating, accelerating to a rate of 5 meters per second. Strong gravitational forces were detected in the vicinity of the sphere, visibly affecting objects up to 15 meters away. Seconds later, a dense orange liquid with an average surface temperature of approximately 4000 degrees Celsius began flowing from SCP-345, which proceeded to encompass the metal sphere. Afterward, another denser liquid began flowing out of SCP-345. It also proceeded to encircle the sphere. This liquid continued to flow from inside SCP-345 until the sphere reached a diameter of 2.3 meters, at which point the flow stopped and SCP-345 automatically closed. The resulting sphere was still slowly spinning and hovering above the ground. It was extremely dense, and its gravitational pull was strong enough to severely damage its surroundings. The temperature at the surface varied between 900 and 1600 degrees Celsius. 30 minutes later, parts of the outermost magma began to cool down, solidifying into a thin rock crust. 20 hours later, most parts of the sphere were solid rock, with small seas of lava flowing between them. Little volcanoes and mountains could also be observed. At this point, a special containment team with heat-resistant equipment was moved in to relocate the sphere to a safer room. The sphere was later designated SCP-345-1. Studies regarding the probability of its eventual development of an atmosphere are underway. Note: although at first we thought that SCP-345 had created a copy of Earth, as of 2000, studies have shown that it is unlikely that SCP-345-1 will develop an atmosphere, and the composition of its magma is very different from Earth's, containing far smaller quantities of silica and aluminium and larger amounts of titanium. It is currently unknown if the magma of other planetoids created by SCP-345 would have a similar composition. Perhaps we should have a D-class completed, preferably on an open field. Dr.
Case file ends. Which case file do you require?
Item number SCP-350. Object class Safe. When not under experimentation, SCP-350 should be contained within a locked storage unit. No personnel other than those undergoing experimentation with SCP-350 should be allowed to sign SCP-350, no matter what might be offered in exchange. Those who have signed SCP-350 should be allowed to fulfill the terms of SCP-350 until the terms conflict with Foundation interests, at which point they should be restrained or terminated as necessary. Any staff member above Level 3 caught signing SCP-350 for any reason must be immediately terminated. SCP-350 appears to be a single-page contract followed by 49 blank sheets. The contract outlines a basic exchange of a good or service in exchange for a small amount of money wired to a numbered account at Bank in Zurich, Switzerland. The wording of SCP-350 is different to every reader prior to signature, and the good or service offered is always something the subject has expressed great desire to obtain. The document is also always in the native language of the reader and conforms to the laws of the nation in which the subject makes their primary residence. Attempts to use video or photography to get an objective image of SCP-350 at this stage have failed, as the text continues to vary from person to person. Upon signing of SCP-350, the variable language property of the contract ceases, and the text of the contract stays in the language of the owner of the signature on the document to all readers. The subject will invariably find the object or a proof of service shortly after exiting SCP-350's containment unit, always in a location without direct surveillance. Should the signatory of SCP-350 fulfill the terms of the contract and wire the money to the bank account, SCP-350 begins to add new amendments and terms starting from the second page, most of which demand a minor service of some form from the signatory. However, the complexity of the terms and demands increases with the number of amendments fulfilled, eventually reaching extremes including, but not limited to, the murder of staff members, the removal of SCP-350 from Foundation containment, and even should the signatory not fulfill the original or new terms of SCP-350 for any reason for a full week, they will begin to feel a noticeable urge to complete the task. This grows into a compulsion on the order of the tics of those suffering from severe obsessive-compulsive disorder. Should the subject be prevented from completing the terms at this point, the subject will begin to lie, steal, kill, and take other extreme actions to attempt to fulfill the demands of the contract. Psychological analysis at this point reveals nothing, as the subject is utterly fixated on completing the task to the exclusion of all else. If the subject is restrained from completing the task, the subject will resort to constant escape attempts, refusing to eat, drink, or sleep. Subjects will die unless placed on intravenous fluids and forced into a chemically induced coma. At this point, their metabolism and body functions will begin to speed up until the subject dies from either a heart attack or the inability of intravenous therapy equipment to keep up with the metabolism.
Thank you for your participation in Project 82, transmitting psioanalytic data to Dr.